Hi, I'm Mike Yanessa. Welcome to another episode of Car Stories here on PCTV. Tonight we have a special guest that's going to talk about micro sprints. So stay tuned for some really good information, and don't forget Eastwood. Eastwood is our sponsor up on Shoemaker Road in Pottstown for all your automotive needs, tools, paint, powder coating. Stop by and get your supplies at Eastwood right here in Pottstown. All right, so tonight our guest is Terry Elix, and he's going to talk to you about micro sprints.
Micro sprint.
What is a regular sprint? Explain that to me.
A regular sprint is more of a, well, it's a full-size, more of a full-size car, single seat, custom frame.
Okay.
There's different size motors, 305s, 358s, 360s.
Oh, so like a small block Chevy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they have the 410s, which is, if people know the Outlaws, it's a 410, which is more of a custom-made motor.
Okay.
410 cubic inch fuel injection, usually around 800 horsepower.
And this is a sprint car?
A sprint car with a wing on the top.
Right.
Usually they have wings in the front.
Right.
Small wings, narrow, but the wing on top is 25 square feet, and it's movable.
Right.
And what that does is it helps them develop down pressure to run, to grip the track better.
Okay.
Forward speed, and to help get around the corner.
Okay, and where do they run them around here?
Well, they do, regular sprints are run at Grandview. Occasionally they have about 4 or 5 shows a year.
Okay.
They run them at Williams Grove.
Oh yeah, Williams
Lincoln.
Grove. Yep, Lincoln Speedway.
Port Royal, Susquehanna. I'm sure there's going to be more than I can remember.
No, that's fine. Just to give an idea, I didn't realize the difference between a sprint car, and now you're going to talk a little bit about micro sprint.
A micro sprint is actually about a quarter of a size. It's probably about 10 feet long, and with the wing on top, it might be about 7 feet high. About 5 feet wide at the widest part, at the rear axle, at the rear tires.
Right. And what engine do they typically?
Well, there's 4 classes that the track I run at have. It's a 250 Sportsman, which is the old air-cooled motorcycle engine. All these are motorcycle engines.
Oh, and the micro sprint's a
Yes.
motorcycle, and the sprint, it's a small block Chevy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
They have the 250 Sportsman, which is the old air-cooled motors. Now they're getting harder to find, so now you can run stock 250 two-stroke motorcycle engines.
Okay.
But you can't modify them to make them more competitive with the air-cooled 250s.
Okay.
And then they have 125cc, which is, all these are basically dirt bike motors, except the 4-strokes, which are small 250 4-stroke motors, which was the older highway, the street motorcycles.
And then what for transmission?
The transmission is just run off the motorcycle engine.
Oh.
You shift.
Wow.
Back in the day, before I started, or as I started, they just started shifting. So not only did you have to learn to run your line, which means where you are in the track, you have to learn where your car works well.
Right.
Down at the bottom, or up at the top, and you have to get to be in that spot all the time if you want to do well.
Right.
And not only that, then you have to shift 4 times a lap.
Wow.
So you have to shift a certain spot, and you want to hit that spot as close as you can every time to get your car to work.
Right.
Perfect,
yeah.
every lap the same.
Yeah.
Consistently. So it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And is this always dirt, or is
Always dirt.
No asphalt?
No asphalt.
Okay.
They have run, now they had those 4 classes, and now in the past 10 years they started running 600 class, which is a sport bike class. If you know, like I call them the crotch rockets.
Yeah.
But they take 600cc motors and put them in them. Now they're a little bit, the cars themselves are a little bit bigger. Same wing, basically the same size.
Right.
It's just that the motor sits in front of the driver or alongside of the driver, makes it very tight. But they run 600 cc's, fuel injection, still the same motorcycle transmission. They basically, I'm pretty sure they run one gear, but they have a shifter handle outside in that clutch.
Okay.
So you start them and then
Put it in gear.
Put it in gear. You have the clutch on the shifter, and you start moving that way. Mine, when I race, you're either in gear or you're stopped.
Right.
You know, you push start them, you pop them in gear, and then you
go.
flat shift and, you know, do that. There's no clutch involved.
No clutch. How old is this? I mean, when did this start? The 60s?
The track I'm at is over 50 years old.
So
the club has been involved.
Micro.
Yes.
Wow. I
Now,
didn't realize that.
They had different classes back then. They called them an
yeah.
industrial class, but I don't know a whole lot about them.
But it was motorcycle engines?
All
and the
motorcycle
sidecar.
or that type of deal.
Right.
And when I started in '93, it was all motorcycle engines,
Okay.
250s, Sportsman,
Wow.
4-stroke, and 125. And then eventually the 600s came out. They also at one time had 1,000 cc.
How fast do you go, let's just say, for average? What do you think?
See,
you go?
basically, you gear your car to the track you're on. So you don't want to, you want to have it reach
Peak
RPMs
Yeah.
at the end of the straightaway.
Interesting.
And then, you know, you kind of gear it so that it works best for power coming off, off the corner, and at the top speed.
Okay.
So our track is probably about an 1/8 mile. We might go 60, 65 maybe.
Wow,
now you got to realize 1/8 of a mile, and we line up 4 abreast, so then there's a place for the 5th car to go out near the fence. But there's 25 cars on in a feature together at the same time. So, and all that clay, they want the same spot you're on. So you know, if you're familiar with Grandview, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
just
they're
smaller.
fighting for that position.
You know, they want that spot no matter what you.
Did you do anything before this, or did you race anything else? You just
Racing to me was going to Reading. I grew up in the
Reading Fairgrounds.
Reading
How about
Fairgrounds.
it? Yeah.
I went a little bit to Grandview. I grew up over the hill from Grandview, but never really got involved with Grandview.
So you.
I kind of went to Reading, and then I started going and watching sprint cars going out to Williams Grove.
Right.
I raced motocross many years ago, and never really thought much of car racing until my first marriage. I got divorced and I needed something to do.
Right.
And
that's how you started it.
kind of stumbled into this, and I went to watch a race, and I thought, well, this is okay. You don't need a big car. You don't need a big trailer. You don't need a big garage. I can make this work.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying a car.
You have a picture of that,
And
don't you?
this,
Just set it up there.
I
guess we'll get it for you. Go
the
ahead.
first year I raced, I didn't want to be too conspicuous. I wanted to be laid back. I don't want people to say, well, last week he really did some dumb things. So I made my car kind of white, and I made it nice. Jeff Graber lettered it. I remember going to him. I didn't really know him real well, but I went up to him very close to the beginning of the season, and he's busy.
Yes.
And he was working out of his house at the time. He was pretty new at it.
Right.
I said, can you letter my car for me? He said, yeah. He said, bring your pieces up here, and he lettered my car. I didn't tell him. I just gave him the sponsors' names.
Couple
I
names.
said, I'd like to have this person here, this and there, and he came up with it. And ever since then, all my cars I ever did was from him.
So
And
that's your
I
first
didn't-
car?
That was my first car.
Okay.
That's a Hengecraft. It was a 1989 Hengecraft. Now, back then, there were a couple different things. There were some people that had motors on the right side of the car, and some people had motors on the left side of the car, affecting the way the car goes around the corner. The weight being on the inside, does certain things,
Sure.
and the weight on the outside will do certain things. Also, there are two different cars. They have coilover suspension, and then they have torsion bar suspension. Now, each reacts a little bit different.
Right.
And the first one, and now I went there not knowing a darn thing. I thought I knew something. You know, I thought, well, what the heck? You just sit in
Yeah.
a car. I know how to drive car.
Yeah.
I drive. You know, you're
Yeah.
young. You drive, kind of fast in
Yeah,
the car. You
yeah.
think, well, heck,
I could
this
do
can't
this.
be this tough. Well,
Yeah.
one of the guys I work with knew a little bit how to set up a car.
Okay.
So we went there not knowing anything. We go out in the track. We're driving around thinking we're going fast
Right.
until the first fast guy passes you and you feel like you're going backwards.
That's funny.
But the first year was very much of a learning thing. Our deal was he did the setups. We talked about it so we could learn things together. The car was probably better than me. My ambition was to try to catch up to the car
Right. Right.
and
sure.
get as good as the car would be.
And learn,
Then
yeah.
the next deal you would get the car better. You know, so it's just a back and forth thing like that. First year we just went out and tried to qualify for every race,
Right.
and
Get the
we
feel
weren't
for
looking
it,
to.
Figure it out.
Well, I shouldn't say we weren't looking. Everybody wants to do
Sure,
well. You
right.
don't go out if you race anything.
You got to go. to
You
the
don't go there to
Right.
think you're going to finish second. You want
Right.
to win.
Right.
But to be realistic, you have to understand that there are some pretty good guys out there. And some of
Definitely
these
so.
guys are racing 3 nights a week. They
Yep.
race Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep.
So,
I drag raced. It was the same thing. They raced Friday night, Saturday night, Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go there on a Sunday once a month. And they, you
well, see,
can't be
I'm
competitive.
not sure about
Yeah.
drag racing,
Yeah.
but they learned what the track would do.
Sure.
How the clay changes as the night goes on. Does it get hard? Does it stay moist? Where is it better traction?
Right, they
and
do
all
all
that. And they see things because they saw it last night. They saw this, so they see things much quicker.
Sure.
So until you get out there and do it, and then
So-
after a while you start getting a little more confident.
So that's your first car.
That's my first car.
All right. How long did you have that? A couple of
I
years?
had that 2 years, and then my brother wanted to start racing, so
Okay.
I sold it to him.
Then what?
And then I'm not sure if I have a picture. There's a black and white picture. It was a Stallard car, and I was going to bring one differently.
That's okay.
But it's a right-handed car.
Whoa.
This is me here. This
Okay.
is not me,
That's not you.
but I've been there already.
Wow.
But I just kind of brought this picture along to
yeah.
show some of the things that can happen. The first night I went to watch these race, I've never seen these race, and you see sprint cars flip and
Yeah.
pretty bad, and usually they don't come back out.
Right.
These guys, you flip over, you take the wing off, put another wing on, fix it, and you come back
Go
out
back
again.
out. That's cool.
And I thought, well, they got to be crazy to do that. Well,
Right.
you know what? I've done it too.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been upside down 2 nights, 2 times in
And
one night.
what happened there? What causes that? Did somebody hit you, or you just,
Usually what happens is somebody runs over another person's tire,
and it just
and it kind of
Yep.
upsets you. Either that, or maybe the guy hits you from behind and spins you out,
Right.
and you catch and roll over. Most of the times they're just spin outs and
Spin
stuff
outs.
like that. But
and the air gets under that wing
and the
Wow.
wing basically though is much more of a. If you get upside down, it cushions your
Sure.
impact. One thing I tell people is when it happens like that.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
when you're sitting in the car, after you do it a while, it feels like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Or, a length of time because you're just sitting there and
yeah, it's like
when
slow
it's
motion.
quiet, you know it's not going to be good. If it's quiet too long, because that means you're in the air.
Yeah.
When you're hitting, it's making noise.
That's funny.
And I sometimes sitting there and after it's bouncing around, I'm thinking, well, what am I going to have to replace when this stops?
Yes.
But, it's,
Yeah. It
I don't
happens.
know.
It
But
happens, yeah.
at that time, there were probably, each class would have about 28, 30 cars or more. So it's it got to be pretty difficult to qualify. And there were some pretty good guys the first year I raced against Doug Ash. And Doug Ash has become a very good sprint car driver. And he started and he and I had a few run-ins. But I mean, So some of these guys have progressed
Oh,
pretty
yeah,
far.
yeah.
I mean, they're good, but most of them, if you need help,
Yeah.
most of them, if
yeah.
they have it, they'll let
help
you
you.
use it. They want you to be out there, and
Yeah.
the other way around. And if somebody needs help, usually there's a lot of people there to quick come over and
Yep,
do
that's-
whatever you
that's
can.
cool. That's
I mean,
really
I'm
cool.
sure it's the same.
Same thing, yep.
I mean,
Yep.
you want to beat them,
Yeah. But in the same way,
but
they'll give
you know,
anything.
it's still
yep.
the same thing.
That's cool.
And then there's sometimes when you're not very happy with somebody and you stay away for a while.
Right, right.
But
What other pictures you got?
I have. Then I bought this is a hypercar.
So you call that a hypercar? Is
Yeah,
that the
a
brand?
hypercar is the name of the maker. It's a
Okay.
chassis builder.
That's neat. looking.
Now, his cars were coilover cars.
Okay.
Now, there again, the first two cars I had were torsion bar.
So now you got to learn.
Now I went to this because at this time these were getting to be pretty popular. There
Right.
was a bunch of people that were winning. I'm still pretty new at it, thinking I'm gonna.
This is.
I want to look to see something better. I want
Yeah.
to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I go this way. It's to buy new then, probably about $10,000 for a car, and you can buy a motor for $2,500. So you're still,
Yeah.
it's not cheap, but it's not like if
Yeah.
you go sprint car racing.
Yeah, it's a lot
You're
more than that.
spending
Yep.
3 times that on a motor now.
Sure.
So, but this now has the gas tank here on the right side. There's nothing. This is just a plastic
Cover.
mold. There's nothing there. And then the motor's on the left-hand side.
Okay.
I did okay with these, and I got to win 2 races, and I have some pictures of those 2 races. And it was this car.
Okay.
But it was another learning thing.
Sure. Same thing with drag racing. They have leaf spring cars, coilover cars. They all react differently.
And,
You know.
and see, and then you have to learn again.
Yep.
What
How
do you need
set
to
it
do?
up. Yep.
What do you need to do to make this work?
Yep.
Now, I'm not sure if a lot of people know, the right rear tire is bigger than the left rear tire. So basically, you steer the car down the straightaway. You can let go of the wheel almost, and it'll go around the corner.
Yeah, it turns.
So
up.
you're steering the wheel.
Okay.
You're steering the car to keep it straight, not so much as the corner. Now you have to turn it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
I know what you mean, though.
the size of the tire helps you. So, you have to move the tire in and out. The size of the tire affects it.
Mm-hmm.
How high do you have the wing? You can change the wing angle, how far back. They got to be a lot of adjustments. The first 2 cars, I had no adjustments.
Right,
That
you
you
were
bolt the
limited.
wing on solid, and you
That's
kind of
it.
you put it where you want it, and you bolt it.
Mm-hmm.
These now you have much more adjustments. And as I got better, you start looking for more adjustments because you can tell more. Now, in saying that, if your car's not good, the adjustments you can make in the car aren't going to make a bad car a first place car. You have to have a good starting point.
Sure.
So my cars were always yellow. After the first year, I went to yellow because after the first year, I'm seeing what everybody else is doing, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, my thinking then is, if I can beat a guy by this much and they see my car, because then it's just by looks. You're not using
Yeah.
any kind of video
right.
so if I look like I'm this much ahead of them,
Right.
maybe that'll. So then I started going to yellow, and Jeff Graber again.
I know Jeff. He's a good guy.
I just
Yeah.
took the car up there, and he did everything.
Cool.
Changed the colors. I have some other pictures.
Yeah. What else you got?
I have.
Show us
This
some more.
this is another one of them, same car. But as you see, all my cars are yellow. I did that for 10 years. And then I decided, I have a friend that I got involved with racing sprint cars. So I kind of stepped away for a while.
Oh yeah.
Got away and was doing other things, but I was still racing, not maybe every week, but most of the time. one of his cars, or when he had the midgets,
Mm-hmm.
he painted one side red and one side white.
Get out.
So I thought it was kind of neat
Yeah.
because here's another one of these is another Hyper. This is probably one of my favorite cars.
Yeah.
My son called this the confetti car because they have little colors down
Oh,
here in the
yeah.
bottom. It looked like you threw confetti and it kind of landed
That
there.
is a neat car. With a polished wing.
Polished wing.
Yeah.
It's another one of the things my friend had. He had a sprint car and he took polished aluminum and pop riveted on the body just to
Okay.
make it look,
Flashy.
made it heavy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it made it look neat.
Right.
And when he did that, I kind of like this, and I came up with a polished wing. But this is probably one of my favorite cars. But going back to that red and white, they did that with the midgets, and I
Okay.
thought, boy, that's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
So I asked him if he minded if I painted mine that way, and we painted mine that way. So I had people confused for a while when they were on the track. They looked for a red car one way, and then they couldn't find me on this
Oh,
front
my,
stretch because
that's
the
cool.
white now is out. Goofy things,
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, it made it fun.
Sure.
So
Cool.
as that progressed, I finally, around 2000,
Okay.
is my first feature win. Now,
And what speedway is this at?
this is still at Laneco.
At
At
Laneco.
Laneco, which is Clyde Martin. They call it Laneco Speedway.
Where's
but
this at? Where's it at?
Clyde Martin is between Ephrata and Schaeferstown.
Oh, okay.
And if
yeah.
you know where Middle Creek Game Preserve is,
Yeah, yeah.
it's right in the middle of
in
that. The first time we went looking for
Yeah,
it.
let's
We
There it is.
went up to Ephrata, and we came in Ephrata, and we're driving through here. They told us how to go, and it's in the middle of the woods.
That's a neat.
And all of a sudden, we sprang into this racetrack out in the middle of the woods.
And what do they do there? Micros?
Yeah,
Maybe?
that's where it's all micros.
Oh, all
there.
micros.
This is where I race.
Wow.
Well, now this one,
That's neat.
no, you know what? It's not. It's this one.
That's all right.
This
Put
one
that
is
one
the
up.
one that was the first feature win.
Okay.
Now, this has a story. There was a guy that's running first, much better than me that night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good enough to be second, but he's way faster than me.
Okay.
On the one restart before, on one of the restarts, his car didn't go in the beginning. But I wasn't thinking of it. It just didn't go, and I kind of bumped in the back of him, which is not uncommon. But
Yeah, yeah.
he took off then and got out in the lead, and I was kind of close to him, but not real close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had another yellow. This time I'm prepared. I'm thinking if he don't go, I'm going to get on the outside of him and I'm going to get him.
Right. And he did.
Well, sure enough, coming down for the start, he didn't go.
Right.
I got in front of him. I only had a lead for a lap, but I won.
Wow.
So that in itself, to me, winning the first one and winning it on the last lap is
Oh.
just
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of guys. My friend is Mike Miller.
Mm-hmm.
In this class that I raced, this was the 125 at the time. He won every race for 2 years.
Oh my.
Now, this one was one of the races when he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Both my wins were, unfortunately,
Right.
he wasn't racing at.
Wow.
He was there for the second one, but not for the first one. But
And show us the second one. That's this one.
that's that one.
Okay.
Now, these are both still the hypercar.
Same car.
Same car. This is my son that he was running. They don't do anything with big cars. It's all small stuff. So they have four-wheelers that use to push us off.
Right,
Well, he
right.
was driving a four-wheeler at the time, and I got lucky enough to win one and celebrate with my son.
Oh, that's great.
But
Terrific.
this was, I like this car a lot too. And this is one of the cars, if you talk to circle track guys, green is not a color to put on.
right.
It's
right,
unlucky to have green. And we always said, well, money is green. What makes you race
Yeah,
for
I've
money?
heard that before.
But
Yep.
you, after a while, my luck. I was looking to change things, so I put green on. I had peanuts.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
Jeff make peanuts and paint them on, doing things like that. Anything, just to make it different.
Yeah.
But this is still when I was doing yellow,
Right.
a lot of yellow. The orange one was one of the early cars after I changed it. And that was kind of, I think it might have been one of the 270 cars that I started racing.
Cool.
But I got to be lucky enough to win 2 races. Now I've been racing, this year will be 25 years. Excuse me. But there's a lot of people that race a long time and never get to win. I got lucky enough to win 2 times. And we were saying about inside in the cage controls,
Yes.
this little handle here actually runs a cable down to the rear axle. And you move the handle and you move the axle left or right, which will help loosen or tighten the car when you go around the corner.
Wow.
So it's just an example of one of the controls. There's another control up here that will move the wing up and down,
Oh, so
forward
you
and
can
back.
actually adjust it. Wow.
Yeah. So, but
Well,
these,
Terry, I learned a lot tonight, man. I didn't know anything about micro midgets, and you taught us a lot. I mean, this is cool. This is really neat. I remember as a little kid seeing them on the back of a trailer down the street.
Now,
they had 2 of them, and I didn't
there's
know what they were.
quarter midgets that are even smaller. These are for younger kids.
Yeah, for younger kids.
That
No, these
race
were
down in
micros because
Phoenixville?
It was an adult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
But the quarter midgets is the kids.
Yep.
Yep. No, these were micros when I was real young. So, but I didn't know. I didn't know. the
I
ins and outs.
started this knowing nothing.
Right,
And,
now you-
and
25 years, you get to know a little bit.
you learn pretty much. This
Oh,
is,
my, look at that shot.
I got into the fence in turn 4, broke the front axle, and ended up starting to
Wow.
tumble down the back, down the front stretch. So this
Well,
is where
I
I'm
really
at now.
appreciate you coming over tonight. I mean, you told us a lot about micro sprints. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but the time was good. The pictures were good. And Terry, thanks for telling us about micro sprints.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, if you saw last month's show, we had a very special 37 Cadillac that belonged to a local mechanic, Charlie Reinert. Charlie Reinert was the Corvair guy out on Farmington Avenue. And we got some really good feedback from the car, and we actually got this article sent to us by Charlie Reinert's daughter. And the original owner was Gula Mae Smith. She's the lady that sold it to Charlie. And so I appreciate everybody's feedback on the 37 Cadillac. It's a really cool car. And here's an article from the Reading Eagle. The current owner of Chuck's Auto Salvage is Charlie Reinert's grandson, and he got married and they used this car in the wedding. But here's an article, second owner or 2-owner car, looking for the 3rd owner from the Reading Eagle. And we got more information coming, so stay tuned for next month's show and I'll give you some more information. If you didn't see last month's show, you can see it on the internet. Just go to Car Stories or go to PCTV. And we really had a good show tonight. I thank Terry for coming. We learned a little bit about micro midgets. If anyone out there has anything interesting to talk about cars, come on Car Stories and share it with everyone in the Pottstown area that they can watch and learn about different types of cars, racing, cruising, whatever it is. So I'm Mike Yanessa. Thanks for tuning in to Car Stories, and I'll see you next month.